revolt in Ohio, a Cincinnati IRS employee insisting Washington is throwing us under the bus. And that is not all. Congressional investigators heard from workers at the IRS office at the center of the scandal in Cincinnati. Stephen Dennis from CQ Roll Call joins us with more. Nice to see you.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so what are they saying in Ohio?
So you've got these two IRS agents, basically, that they interviewed.
Who's they?
That this is the committee. This is Darrell Iss's committee, Oversight and Government Reform, going in and taking people's testimony and putting people on the record and saying, okay, well, were you told to do this? And one of the people said, yes, we were told to basically target Tea Party groups, and that it was, they were just doing their job. They were just doing what their higher-ups told them to do. So the inference is that it wasn't just a few rogue folks in Cincinnati who just dreamed up this plot by themselves, but that it was actually ordered from Washington. You had a second employee who actually was so uncomfortable with the direction to go after Tea Party groups that they requested and got a transfer. And that, to me, is a pretty, if you're upset enough to get a transfer, that's a pretty interesting charge. Now, what we still don't know is putting names to who actually ordered this, who
why don't we know that? Because that would have been my follow-up question. If I'm on the committee and I interviewed two from Cincinnati who say that we're getting thrown under the bus and Washington did it, I'd say, who in Washington?
Exactly. And we're still waiting to see these full transcripts. We're waiting to see these people actually testify potentially, and there's a lot more employees than just two. Darrell Iss has talked about maybe 18 more of these kinds of interviews, so there's a lot more going to come out. We're probably going to get emails and other kinds of documentation that's going to shed the light on who knew what, who knew when, and who ordered it. And the key here is, it's one thing if this just goes back to the IRS office in Washington. Washington's a pretty big place. There's hundreds of thousands of government employees here. What really matters, and will keep this alive a lot longer, is if there's any ties to the White House. And so far, there really isn't anything that ties this directly to the White House as them having anything to do with actually ordering this to happen.
Why can't this move faster? I know this is Washington, but this has been going on now. We've known about it for a couple weeks, and it's sort of drip, 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 drip. I think, to quote Speaker Boehner, I think he made some reference to drip, drip, drip the other day in reference to scandals. But why can't they just haul these people up, put them under oath, do it very publicly? Let's actually have that old-fashioned transparency that we get, we get told about all the time. Just put them up and do it and move it.
Well, Washington tends to work pretty slowly. You get lawyers involved. It takes a long time. I do think that's going to happen. You saw that with Lois Lerner. She, took the Fifth Amendment and said, I'm not going to testify. I would be surprised to see a lot of other people start taking the Fifth Amendment at these lower levels, because they don't want to be, there's an FBI investigation. You don't want to say the wrong thing. So I do think we're going to see a lot more of these people come forward and testify. I do think that there's a danger here for Republicans. They have a pretty good story here. They have a scandal. Their groups were targeted. There's a potential for a lot of political advantage for them. But there's also potential when you start doing things like name calling, like Darrell Issa did the other day when he called Jay Carney sort of the paid liar kind of thing. If you are talking about name calling, that kind of clouds the whole issue.
It would be nice if it weren't the political payoff that they're looking for, but instead get to the bottom, because it's a very terrible thing that happens to some Americans being targeted, rather than sort of the engineering they do around this town to try to get political favor or political advantage. But let's just get to the bottom and get the facts.
Well, that would be great, but the way Washington works is people are always looking to see if there's an advantage for them in a story, and if there is, they want to push it harder, and if there isn't, they want to go to something else.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.